It's time for Commonwealth Common Sense with Susan Stimpson and Kevin Scholla.
Hey, Susan, how are you?
Hey, Kevin, doing great, thank you.
Well, she's back in the news again. Our friend Lois Lerner, if you don't remember her, folks, remember she pled the fifth and then kind of talked a little bit anyway and then kind of didn't and then backtracked again and all that good stuff. And, well, she's back in again, and again, not for the best reasons. Susan, what's going on?
Well, she was one of the top officials in the IRS, and it became apparent that they were targeting Tea Party groups who were seeking, a status that would have been a nonprofit status. And she claimed that she really did not realize that this was even a problem until she read about it in the newspaper. But when Congress kept asking questions, she came in and pleaded the fifth. And we haven't heard anything from her until a few days ago. It did come out that actually there were emails where she specifically was ordering that the Tea Party take a closer look at the Tea Party, and she also revealed her party leanings when there was a question on the Federal Communications, the FEC, looking into the status of some of these Tea Party groups. So it was a definite abuse of power.
So what does this say to Americans? I mean, it's bad enough elected officials who you put in and maybe say, fool me once, shame on you, fool me twice, shame on me. But these are people that are appointed that you really don't have a say in, but have so much power. How in the world are Americans supposed to trust officials on any level when this just keeps happening?
I think that Americans are reaching a point where they don't trust anyone who is elected in office, and that is very troubling to me. And I think that it's a pattern of behavior that we're seeing, and it's not just on one side. It is on both sides of the aisle. But you're talking about the leader at the top who very clearly a year ago said that if the Syrians used chemical weapons, that would be his red line. And then a couple of weeks ago he said, well, I didn't say that I had a red line. So if we can't trust our leaders to tell us the truth, I think that we have a real problem in the effectiveness of our government, and it is up to the people to draw their own red line and to say, this is not acceptable, this cannot be a part of our government, and it is our government, and we want people in office who are going to represent us and make sure that the process is fair.
Yeah, when Bill Clinton used to pull that stuff in the early 90s, he'd go on a radio show, say something, and then tell someone else, I never said that. You had to really do some digging to get the clip and find what he said. You'd have to call that particular station or get that tape cut up. Now with the Internet and, everything on YouTube and everything, out there at our fingertips for Obama to have the audacity, for lack of a better term for his book there, to go and say he doesn't say things that he says on camera or on tape. It's just, they're starting to, it's self-fulfilling prophecies here, right? They're starting to believe their Teflon-ness.
Well, and even with Ms. Lerner, who said that, she had no idea it was some rogue employees. Well, those employees came and testified, and I'm sure they did not appreciate being thrown under the bus like that and said no, that it was direct orders that were given to them. But she also used in her emails that were revealed to the House Ways and Means Committee, she called the Tea Party dangerous. Now, to most Americans, maybe that's not a big deal, but right now it's the Tea Party. Who is it going to be next? And who is determining what group is dangerous and what isn't based on just a political view that's dangerous? I think that's where Americans are going to have to be sharper in their paying attention to this and to what we're going to do to our elected officials or who we're going to elect into office, just making sure that it's people that are going to represent us.
Look, we'd be better off if the IRS were abolished. You want to go on a smaller scale, at least simplify our tax codes. No one understands what's going on as it is. Every year, people dreading that time of year. And now to have the Lois Lerners of the world there targeting groups, and like you said, you may not be a Tea Partier or a pro-lifer or a Christian or these other groups that were targeted, but like you said, who is next? I mean, people already don't get into politics because they're worried about how they're treated. Now people panic about IRS situations just out of random auditings and things that maybe they honestly forgot to do because the code is so difficult for regular Americans to understand. And now to see people using their power to push agenda like this, I mean, it's downright scary for so many people. So what do you do? Just continue to speak out when Lerner and people like this, demand for these people to step down, or what do you do next?
Well, I think that we could see in the example over this last couple of weeks regarding Syria, when the people rose up and they called in and they let their elected officials know how they felt about it very clearly, that puts our country on a different track. Their elected officials heard from the people, and I think that it's the same type of situation of just staying in contact with your elected officials and letting them know that you are paying attention, and that this type of abuse of power is not acceptable, and that we expect our elected officials to stand against this and to continue to be a watchdog over it. And I do want to commend the House Ways and Means Committee for continuing this investigation and this push and really revealing what the truth is so that we can prevent this from happening again.
Thank you, Susan.
Thank you, Kevin.
Susan Stimpson in Virginia. More Commonwealth Common Sense next week.